What's up, you guys? It's your boy Zendagon again, back for episode 2 of the Podvideo Gamecast. I think I'm pretty excited to get going on these and get. I have a decent list. I think of about 50 games lined up, but I just want to keep saying if anybody wants to see specific games or topics, don't hesitate to mention it and comment or contact me on all the social media. It's at Zendagon on all platforms: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everything. You can find me, YouTube. So this episode is going to be about probably my third favorite probably game of all time. It's definitely top 5. Last episode we talked about Sonic the Hedgehog, and if you didn't listen to that episode and you're a fan of Sonic, definitely should go back, check that bad boy out. Just talks about, everything. So we're going to kind of do the same process here. Ratchet and Clank, I have a tattoo of from Sonic. My next tattoo, I probably will be getting Ratchet and Clank. It was in the original plan that I drew for the tattoo. I did forget one thing in the last episode. It was supposed to be, I forgot to give my point scale for Sonic. Sonic as an overall on a 50-point scale, for me as an overall game in general, it gets a 40 points. I wouldn't say, it doesn't cover every single area that every video game ever would cover. I don't know if I know of anything in the world that would make it to the 50 points on the 50-point scale, but it's definitely up there. 40 points is a lot to say, considering, you're involving every bit of criteria for every game ever. So yeah, that was for the last episode with Sonic the Hedgehog, but Today we are talking about Ratchet and Clank. Now, I guess I should really title it Ratchet because there are games that are the first one without Clank, but whatever. So, we're going to talk about the favorite games and least favorite games of all of Ratchet and Clank. For me, I definitely... So, it's like kind of bittersweet about it because I love... Ratchet and Clank Going Commando is my favorite one yet. Now, obviously, they're starting to remake. Hopefully, they in the remade version of the first one, they put signs in there like they were gonna remake. The plumber guy that fixed the digital thing, he said, "See you in the next remake," or whatever. He worded it something like that. So hopefully they make Going Commando next, because that's this next title in the original. That was my favorite one. Most people that I've ever talked to loved Up Your Arsenal, which, don't get me wrong, Up Your Arsenal was great. But I'm a huge fan of Going Commando. I guess it's just like I owned it first, and so I played it more when I was little, and got to the point to where, like, it was summer and we didn't have school and I played video games all day, and I just like binged the whole game in a couple hours and then beat it and then would start it over. And Ratchet and Clank, I think probably more than any other game I've ever played, really rewards, like, when you beat the game and go play through again, and then you get your multipliers and your bolts, and it's so satisfying. And every single time you beat the game, you can level up your guns again, and that is also like so satisfying to me. Like, I was one of those people, like, with like games like that, I want to level up all my guns, even the ones that I thought were complete shit, that like did nothing or no damage or whatever. I was still like, well, sorry, I gotta tough it out and level this thing up all the way. That's just kind of how I am with a lot of games, though. I want to complete everything or collect everything that's possible. So my least favorite, and I get a lot, well, I guess it might have changed now, because All for One was whack. If you like those kind of games, it's kind of different, but I think All for One was whack. I don't know that I would still say that is my least favorite, but the one that I usually say is my least favorite, I get a lot of shit from people because it's Ratchet Deadlocked. And a lot of people love that game because I mean the arenas in the Ratchet and Clank games are so much fun. You know, you walk around and if you die after a 20-minute fight in the arena, you want to bash your controller into your freaking forehead because it's so stressful, but it is a fun part of the game too. And I do remember like staying up all night. I had my cousin. I was at my cousin Devin's house. I don't know why I remember this specifically. I was at my cousin's house, and his friend Kason was there. And for some reason, we were just like taking turns trying this, and going commando. And I think there, if I remember correctly, it's been a few years. There's two different arenas. There's one on like the third planet, I believe, that you go to, and then like the seventh or eighth planet. And when you get to that seventh or eighth planet and you get the arena there and you unlock all the different battles there, there's one, I think it's called the Impossible Challenge. And I remember us just going back and forth trying to beat that over and over. And it was so stressful. But looking back, I love that so much. And so don't get me wrong when I say like Ratchet Deadlocked, it's an okay game, but I want more of a game. Ratchet's storyline and the Ratchet and Clank games, those were the freaking best. Like when I was really, really little, my brother had one of the games. I don't know which one it was, but I wasn't allowed to like listen to him because the game had cuss words or something like that. And I remember like when you're a kid and somebody says, "Oh, you're not allowed to watch that," or "You're the only thing you want to do is," well, I want to sit and watch that. And so I just would want to like sit in my brother's room and listen to him play and listen to it and watch it and stuff like that. But um, the storyline in all the Ratchet and Clank games, I think were awesome. I loved all the characters, all the art. Um, Even, considering like, I don't know what year it came out, but it was a long time ago when the very first one came out. And it looked good. Like for its time and for the console and everything, like dude, that was the shit. Like the bolts and the boxes, everything. Like I was so excited to play it once I figured out what it was. The remade version really like changed the game though, because like I try to stress this all the time with like old games and new games and the mobility of controlling. Like I go to like back in the day when I was playing my Nintendo 64, like 007, you have one analog stick to aim. That's all you have. And you don't know that it could be better with another analog stick because you've never had that. So you're used to terrible controls when you're younger, but now that we like for example, the new Ratchet and Clank, like the mobility with the camera being able to turn and two analog sticks, and the strafing in Ratchet and Clank is huge. The strafing, all the guns, like it's just so smooth and it's so satisfying. If you go back and try to play the older ones, at least for me personally, like I try to go back and play Going Commando just because it's my favorite one, but because it's so like blotchy, I guess, and compared to what I'm used to now, like obviously it's still a great game, and I'm not like trying to shit on old controls or old games or anything like that, but it's just so hard. There's a lot less mobility. It's just it's stressful. It's stressful to try to go back and play it, but I want to enjoy the game. That's why I'm really, really hoping sooner enough they remake Going Commando, because that will definitely be a game that I will play nonstop. The movie was good. I mean, it it's weird, like their twist about it, like the movie being about the game and the game being about the movie. But it was good. The problem with it for me is like I was really hoping there were some things different about the game and some things different about the movie, but it was like to a T the exact same, which it's good for people that like don't know anything about the franchise and wanted to watch the movie, and then they're like, "Oh, dude, I like the storyline and the character build up, so I might want to go play the game." And I understand their like business aspect of it, but on the other hand, it was like, dude, it's the same. Like, if I wanted to watch the movie again, I would have just watched the movie again. But yeah, it was still exciting to have the game. I played the game first, so when I watched the movie, I was like, "Oh, okay, it is the exact same." Either way, so I want to talk about like the beginning of each game, when you have like the combustor or whatever, like the first gun, how like slowly you level up. Man, when I played the new one, it was so different. Like it was so easy to level everything up, and I don't know if it's just like my memory is wrong, but I swear in going commando, I thought like every single time you beat the game, there were new upgrades for the guns up to like 4 or 5 times. The new one, the remake, I beat the game and leveled everything up and then beat the game, and there's only two. There's the first time you beat the game, and then the second time you beat the game, there's nothing else to level up your gun. So they all only go up twice. So that was kind of irritating, but I mean, there's still so much like into the game. That is one of those, like, when I was younger, I would literally like, that is the Ratchet and Clank is the very first game that I remember literally falling asleep with my controller in my hand, staying up all night playing. And like, if looking back now, I don't stay up that like all night long playing video games anymore, but there was a time in my life where like I was trying to do that shit every chance I could. I'm like, oh, dude, I found a new corner of this building. Time to stay up all night, play video games. New zombies map came out. Time to stay up, play video games all night. And then, I went through a phase where it was like so exciting. I was like, yeah, I made it. We would brag, with my friends and stuff, like, oh, bro, I stayed up all night long. They're like, no, you didn't. You only up till 6. You fell asleep. I'm like, that kind of thing. And when you're younger, that stuff matters when you're a kid, talking about, oh, I stayed up all night, make it. Yeah, well, no, you didn't. Whatever. You'd argue with your friends about it. And then there's a phase in like your teen years or whatever, you just stay up all night long. And then for me, my parents would get pissed. Like, specifically my dad, like, he didn't like get that I loved video games as much as I did. So when I would stay up all night long, like, he'd be up ready to go to work in the morning and be like, why are you awake? Have you gone to sleep? And I'm like, no. But it was just so exciting. And then, get to a point now where it's like, I'm at the point these days where if it's 11 p.m. and I'm not actively doing something, I'm just like, yo, I am tired. I could hit the hay right now and be done. I guess like part of it has to do with like my drive for each games. Like, I have to be very hooked into a game now to like play it the same as I used to. Like, not that I don't love video games. Obviously I love video games. That's like my whole life. But I don't play for like 8 hours straight anymore like I did when I was younger. Just because, I mean, there's other stuff going on, obviously, for one. But two, like, man, I don't know. Is something about after an hour or two, I'm like, all right, it's time for a break if I want to enjoy. I guess I'm worried. I'm worried that I'll get burnt out on the game, so I limit my play time so that, pushes it back. I remember though, like I said even earlier, I said as soon as, Going Commando gets remade and comes out, I'm going to play it all day. It's probably true. I did it for the remake of the first Ratchet and Clank, excuse me. They, because I played on PlayStation 4, and there's trophies, and like the moment I saw that it was even announced, I didn't even have the game yet. I was like, I'm gonna platinum that game. I'm gonna get every trophy. And let me tell you, it has been, it's probably been 3 years now that the game's been out, and I still have not platinumed that game. Now, I thought for the longest time I wasn't like paying super close attention, but I had to get one more hidden trophy. So I was like, oh, I'm one trophy away. I'm so excited. I'm just gonna wait until a weekend where I don't have any plans. And back then I was single, so it was like I had literally nothing going on for the weekend. I was like, all right, I'm gonna look it up online. I'm gonna figure out what this hidden trophy is, and that's my goal for the day. That's all I'm gonna do. And I sat there and did it and figured out. So the one trophy that I still needed, which is so insane that was the one I needed. If you're familiar with the game, then you know what I'm talking about. There's a device, I'm trying to remember what it's called, but you use it and you like hook it into the wall, and you do this little puzzle, and it unlocks a door. And so in the game, you can choose to do the puzzle and unlock it, or you can basically cheat, hit X, and skip it. So there's a trophy, it's a hidden trophy, that says to use that without skipping on every single one in the game. So in my mind, when I play a game like that, I do it 100% the first time all the way through. So after, and this is, I've beaten the game probably 4 or 5 times at this point, and I was getting pissed once I looked it up. I was like, no way there was one that I skipped. Well, it turns out on one of the like very first levels, you have to go back to it with that little device, and it's around a corner. So it's not that I skipped it before, it's just that I've never gone back to one of the earlier levels. Anyways, I did it, got the trophy, and I was like, hell yeah, dude, I got the freaking platinum, I'm ready to go. Well, guess what? It pops up, fling, and no platinum trophy pops up. And so immediately I, hit the PlayStation button, go to the menu, and check it out. I'm like, what the fudge, dude? Why did it not pop up? Well, then I go down, and there's one more trophy that I don't have. And this is the hardest one for a specific reason. Okay, it's ridiculous. So if you know anything about Ratchet and Clank, there's a weapon called the Groove Bomb. It's basically a disco ball that you throw, and the enemies all start dancing as long as the disco ball or the groove bomb is active, and all the enemies will dance, and you can sit there and attack them. But like once you attack them, then they turn and attack you. So the trophy is to use the disco bomb on one of every single type of enemy in the game. So at this point, I'm furious, right? Because that sounds like, well, for one, I have notes written. Anyway, I got to do it. I have to basically go through the entire game, figure out, I'm looking up online, figuring out every name of the types of enemies, how many different types there are, where they all spawn on each planet, and then I have to use the groove bomb on all of them. The problem is, so when I first discovered this, I hadn't restarted the game yet after beating it, so I had everything unlocked. But there are certain enemies on certain planets that only spawn the very first time you go there, or you can't get to certain parts of the planet once you go back. It's only the very first time you're there, so you have to restart the game again. So that's what's holding me up, I guess, to platinum it. But like, I can't sit here and complain about, like, obviously the trophies shouldn't be easy, or everybody would have platinums and there'd be nothing to brag about. So yeah, like I said, bittersweet about all kinds of different things. But Ratchet and Clank still up there. I would say on the 50-point scale, Ratchet and Clank for me, and obviously, my scale is going to be different than everybody, because I know people out there that's going to say that 2K20 or whatever, sports games, they're going to be like, oh, bro, 45 and up, they're the best. And that's cool. That's not me. Anyways, Ratchet and Clank, I'm probably gonna stick at. I'm probably gonna put it as a franchise as a whole. I'm gonna say 44, and I know I'm saying last episode was at 40, and this one's 44, and it sounds like I'm just gonna be rating everything super high. But I wanted to start the first 3 or 4 episodes of games that I think really highly of. So obviously these are gonna be high on the point scales, but it's as a whole, you got to think like storylines, characters, the art. I love, like, dude, all the innuendos in Ratchet and Clank. Like, it's so funny if you really enjoy that, like Borderlands kind of style, like where there's so like dirty little subtle jokes that you don't know, or little cuss words that a little, like, to me that's a little Easter egg. Go play Ratchet and Clank, dude. Turn the freaking voices up or sound effects up all the way. Play through the game and just listen to everything. It's so funny. Like, even the titles alone, like Up Your Arsenal, Going Commando, like all that kind of stuff. I love the style of it. Like, it's very PG-13 and up, like. And for me, when I was little, I was like, dude, this is the shit. Like, I'm getting away with something, kind of. You know what I mean? But I just, You know, I remember the, like, different upgrades and the gadgets and stuff, and do the different boots. So if you've never played Ratchet and Clank, there you can choose your boots. Okay, you can choose your boots and your gadgets and Clank. And I know what you're thinking, like, wait, what do you mean you could choose Clank? Like, isn't it just Clank? Yeah. So he can either be mechanical or I don't know how to describe the other one. The ones that, like, you can make him have a helicopter pack, where when you do your double jump or a super far jump, brings out a little propeller, and it goes, and that's how you go. Or you can have a jetpack, and I've always chose the jetpack just because I love it. It has like blue little flames, and you fly up, and it does the exact same thing. It's purely cosmetic, but you always had that choice. And then there's gadgets like a slingshot, where basically if like there's something floating, and that's for the slingshot, you aim it at it, shoot it, and it slings you around. There's one that, like, I forget the name of all these, but there's one that freezes water and then, like, melts the ice, so like you can freeze it, and then you can walk on top of it to get to another side. Or if it's ice, you can melt it and then swim through it. There's one that, like, sucks all the water out and then refills areas with water. I'm trying to think of any more gadgets just off the top of my head. I like, another super exciting thing about Ratchet and Clank was, like, when you get your new Omni wrench, dude. For me, like, that was so exciting, and I don't know why. Especially after, like, the first time, you know exactly where it's gonna be. It doesn't make a huge difference. I mean, I think it does a little more damage, but nothing else really. Like, and I know, like, a specific time in Going Commando, and it's crazy that I remember it so well because it's been so many years since I've actually played that game all the way through. But so there's a area in Going Commando where you have to get, I think it's Leviathans. I honestly think it's called Leviathans. Where you kill Leviathans and then you get their souls. And this guy, I think you're trying to get your ship fixed, and so this guy needs like 10 Leviathan souls. And you go out into this desert, and you're just pretty much on this little hovercraft floating around looking for Leviathans to kill. And then they're kind of a pain in the ass at first, and then you take them back with 10 souls, and he fixes your ship. Well, there's, like, I think a total of 50 Leviathans in that desert. So you can actually, like, me, when I play, every single time I approach that area, I don't go back to that guy until I have every single Leviathan soul that is available, because I think it gives you, like, some like 10,000 or something bolts for each extra soul you give him. So that was, like, always something super fun to me. I don't know why, but, like, that kind of thing was always super fun for me. If there's an option just to do extra, and that's a constant theme in a lot of Ratchet and Clank games. Like, you got to go collect the souls or eggs or something like that, and then go back to this guy, and he only wants like 10, and the rest he'll give you a bunch of bolts for. So I always do, like, every single one you can find in every game. There's one in the original and remake of the original as well. A PSP game. I tried to find it. There's a PSP game, and there's, like, an add-on game. So there was a PSP, and I honestly have no idea which game it is on PSP, but I owned it. And I got in trouble because I would play it in class, and my teacher came around and saw me playing it once, and I got in a lot of trouble. They took my PSP away. I had to come up after school. Anyways, that one was super fun. I guess it was only super fun to me because of the fact that, like, it was a mobile game, and I didn't really, like, the only thing I ever played on my Game Boy was, like, Pokemon at that point. So it was cool for me to have something that I could actually, like, take with me that was still a PlayStation game, and I loved Ratchet and Clank so much. And then there was one called Treasure for Booty, I think. And I thought it was, like, just a DLC, and I think it might have been for one of the games, but I got it the full game, and it was pretty fun. Like, I did not expect it to be a full game. It definitely wasn't, like, a long game. It wasn't, like, a whole bunch of hours of gameplay, but it was still a full, like, storyline. It was a couple different planets and stuff. So, and that one was pretty good. I don't know if I could put them all in order, I would say maybe. I mean, obviously, Going Commando is my number one. Number two, just based on content and stuff, probably Up Your Arsenal. And then I would say the original one, the remake of the original. Um, Quest for Booty, the PSP one, and then I don't know which one. All for One and Deadlocked are tied for last for me. Honestly, I'm not a fan of either of those. Um, I broke away. I was gonna talk about the boots. So there are boots in the game where like you have magnet boots or grind boots, and basically you can magnet boots. Obviously, they're magnets, and if there's metal, you can walk up it. Like that's pretty self-explanatory. And the grind boots are boots that you put on, and guess what? You grind. Yeah, it's crazy, but it's really fun, and like for coming from obviously Sonic Adventure 2 is my favorite game of all time, so the grinding aspect and running around, still killing enemies, collecting, it's a I wouldn't say similar, but like same idea, and that's what I loved about it. For me, playing Ratchet and Clank when I was little, like I don't know if I put nowadays. I would say I've definitely put a total of more hours into Sonic, but Ratchet and Clank is like super close follow. Like I was close behind it. Like I've put a lot of time into that game. Um, Definitely would say that more people probably know about Sonic, obviously, because it's so popular. And I think Ratchet and Clank is a PlayStation exclusive, so there's a whole half, or I would say, I guess, third of the gaming community that has no idea. Or even if they do know about the game, like they don't understand like how fun it is. I know a lot of people like they think Jack and Daxter is like related, and a lot of people associate them with each other. As far as I know, they have no correlation, like nothing in common. I mean, they look the style and I guess art and scenery and stuff looks almost the same, but I don't think the storylines actually have anything in common. I did play Jack and Daxter and it was super fun, but like I said, before, games back in the day were totally different compared to games today. Like I I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but like the where Ratchet and Clank and that kind of game falls in is like an animated fantasy fiction category, right? And so nowadays, if you find a game like that, I feel like they just try like way I don't know how to explain it without making it not make sense. Like they try really hard to do so much crazy stuff or make it so fantasy or so fake, and it's like they just go overboard. Not to mention, it's like back then if I owned 5 games, obviously I'm gonna play the crap out of all 5 of those games, at least get super far in all of them. Well, now you log into any kind of store and you can download 50 games for free, so it's really hard to identify with one game as being like one that you're gonna sit and that's probably my biggest problem now is playing games. Is like adults have jobs, we have money, so you want a game, you buy a game, you play a game. But the problem is when you have any gamer in the world will tell you there has been a time where they've said, "Man, I really have nothing to play." That is like the cliche phrase of all gamers. Dude, I got nothing to play. And then they turn around and there's like 800 games either on their computer or downloaded or actual physical games. But the problem is we just can't stay as entertained with them. Now, obviously, there are people who can sit. I have friends still my age. One of my best friends I used to live with, that dude can sit and play literally, like if he gets into a game, he will stay up all night long. He has to be at work at 8 a.m. He will play that game until 7, go to work, sleep on his lunch break, and come home and play the game again. And, I mean, props to that dude. Like, I can't do that. I need sleep to work. I can't function without it. That dude will tell you, if he could, He would never sleep. He hates it. It's a waste of time in his opinion. So hopefully I can get that guy on the show at some point. He's a big fan of a couple different games that I know that he'd be able to talk a lot about. So I'm pretty sure I can get him on the show fairly easily for a couple different episodes. Anyways, that guy, he can sit and play video games all day. I have friends who can't sit down and play one multiplayer game of Call of Duty, 10-minute match, and they're like, yeah, I'm done with this. And so, I don't know, video games have just changed, and I guess it has to do too with like my generation of people. Like I can't look at like a 15 or 16-year-old kid and understand what they're thinking about video games, because that's all they've known their whole life, is a billion games being available to you at all times. But then there's people a little older than me, that are like approaching 30, right? So now all these games are available to them, but like when they were little, they maybe had 2 games to play. And so like that's all their availability is. So that's just something that, like, I don't know. I guess I need to focus more on. I need to pick a game and then stick with it. But anyways, Ratchet and Clank, yeah, it's definitely by far, up there, top 5 for me. That's why we decided to make it episode 2. I just think that if anybody knows me, for one, they know that I love this game. But 2, if you haven't played Ratchet and Clank, you should definitely check it out. It's got a long, I think there's 6 or 7 games out now. If you have old consoles or whatever, you can go back and play them, even torrent or whatever, use an emulator. They're fun. They're good games, good storyline, good bosses, funny. They're so funny, a lot of butt jokes and stuff like that. But yeah, it's an overall great franchise. Definitely suggest you go play it. So that's it for today's podcast. If, like I always say, if y'all want to hear any specific game, specific topic, talk about anything, as long as it is entertainment related, games, movies, TV shows, anything, or if you want to look at maybe an opportunity in getting on the show, if you think you know a bit about something, feel free to contact me, at Zenagon on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of the above. Get back with us, and thanks for joining me. I will see you again soon.